Taho Kim stared at the blue-skinned woman across the cafeteria. His heart beat faster as she moved with grace, her 6 fingers dancing in the air as she spoke to her fellow diplomats. Nara was her name, and she had come to Proxima Station just 1 week ago with the Loraxian delegation. "You're doing it again," said June, his fellow engineer and friend since academy days. June poked Taho's arm with his fork. "You've been watching her every day." "I have not," Taho whispered, quickly looking down at his food tray. "She looks at you too, you know." June smiled. "I've seen her. When you're busy fixing something, she watches you." Taho felt his cheeks grow warm. "Really? Go talk to her. What's the worst that could happen?" "I could say something stupid and cause an interplanetary incident," Taho said. But the next day, he found himself alone with Nara in the hydroponics garden. She stood before a wall of earth flowers, her blue fingers hovering near a red rose without touching it. "They won't break," Taho said, then immediately wished he hadn't spoken. Nara turned, her large purple eyes widening with surprise. Then she smiled, revealing teeth that shimmered like pearls. "On my world, we have similar plants, but they dissolve if touched by bare skin," she said. Her voice was musical, with an accent that made simple words sound poetic. "That sounds dangerous," Taho replied, moving closer. "Yes, many visitors to Lorax learn this lesson the painful way." She laughed, a sound like silver bells. Before he knew it, they had talked for 2 hours. Nara told him about her homeworld, with its 3 moons and constant daylight. Taho shared stories of Earth and his family's small farm in the countryside. The next day, they met again, and the next. Taho found himself looking forward to these meetings more than anything else in his life. "Humans are fascinating," Nara told him one evening as they watched the stars from the observation deck. "You express emotions so openly. On Lorax, we learn to keep feelings hidden. Are you hiding your feelings now?" Taho asked, feeling brave. Nara's skin shimmered, changing from blue to a deeper indigo. He would later learn this was the Loraxian equivalent of a blush. "Not very well, I think," she admitted. Their first kiss happened a week later. Taho had worried about biological compatibility, but Nara's lips were soft and warm, just a bit cooler than a human's. "In Loraxian culture, this means we are now courting officially," she whispered after they pulled apart. Taho nodded. "Too happy to worry about cultural differences. I'm good with that." As weeks passed, they learned about each other. Nara could lift objects 3 times her weight with ease. Taho showed her how to play chess, and she beat him after just 2 games. They laughed at misunderstandings and celebrated similarities. "I want to cook for you," Nara announced one evening. A traditional Loraxian meal would be difficult with station supplies, but I can try a human dish. Taho helped her gather ingredients for mayokuk, his favorite seaweed soup that his mother made for birthdays. They worked side by side in the small kitchen of his quarters. When Taho stepped away to answer a call from engineering, Nara continued cooking alone. He returned just as she was adding what she thought was sesame oil to the pot. "Wait," he cried, but it was too late. She had grabbed a container of engine lubricant from his work bag. The soup bubbled and turned an alarming shade of gray. "Oh no," Nara said, her skin paling to a light blue. "I've ruined it." But instead of being angry, Taho began to laugh. He laughed until tears ran down his face, until Nara's worried expression melted into confused giggles. "This is the moment," he thought, watching her laugh despite her mistake, her eyes shining with relief that he wasn't upset. "I love her." The words came out before he could stop them. "I love you." Nara stopped laughing. For a terrible moment, Taho feared he had broken some unknown Loraxian taboo. Then she moved to him with that fluid grace and took his hands in hers. "I love you too," she said. "I didn't know if humans and Loraxians could feel the same kind of love. But we do." After that, they were inseparable. Station crew members smiled when they saw the human and the Loraxian together. Some placed bets on how long the relationship would last. Most interspecies romances ended quickly when cultural and biological differences became too much. 2 months later, Taiho knew they were wrong. He acquired a small, rare crystal from a trading vessel, the Loraxian equivalent of a diamond, and set it in a silver band. He told no one of his plan except Commander Hana, who needed to approve his request to use the observatory for a private event. Marriage. Hana looked concerned. Taiho, are you sure? You've known her for barely 3 months. I've never been more certain of anything, he insisted. Have you studied Loraxian biology? Their customs, their expectations of marriage. We've talked about everything important, Taiho said confidently. Hana sighed. Just be careful. There are always surprises in interspecies relationships. But Taiho wasn't worried. That evening, he led Nera to the observatory. The room's dome was transparent, showing the binary stars of Proxima Centauri painting the sky with red and gold light. It's beautiful, Nera breathed. Not as beautiful as you, Taiho said. He knelt down, holding up the ring. On Earth, we do this when we want to ask someone to marry us. To be together always. Nera's eyes widened. Her skin rippled with colors. Blue, indigo, violet. Loraxians have a similar custom, she said softly. The answer is yes. As he slid the ring onto her finger, Taiho felt his heart might burst with happiness. Whatever challenges came, they would face them together. He couldn't imagine any differences they couldn't overcome with love. He was wrong, of course. But that night, as they held each other under the light of alien stars, everything seemed perfect. The marriage ceremony blended human and Loraxian traditions. Taiho wore his formal uniform, while Nera dressed in flowing fabrics that shifted colors with her emotions. They spoke vows in both languages and sealed their union with a kiss that made the assembled station crew cheer. Captain Hana had assigned them new quarters, larger than Taiho's old room, with a small kitchen and living area. The first day they spent arranging their belongings, laughing as they found places for Taiho's collection of old paper books and Nera's strange crystalline art pieces from her homeworld. This is perfect, Taiho said that night as they cuddled on their new couch, watching the stars through their viewport. The beginning of our life together, Nera agreed, her skin glowing a happy shade of blue-green. The first 2 days passed in newlywed bliss. They both had work duties, but every free moment was spent together. They cooked meals, talked about their futures, and fell asleep in each other's arms, or at least, Taiho fell asleep while Nera held him. On the third night, Taiho went to bed early after a long shift. He drifted off with Nera reading beside him, her soft glow providing just enough light to see her dad. At 2:17 a.m., according to the glowing clock, he woke to loud clanging noises. Disoriented, he stumbled out of bed and into their living area. Nera stood in the kitchen area, the refrigeration unit held easily above her head with her 6-fingered hands. The table was moved to the opposite wall, and all their dishes were arranged in patterns on the floor. "What are you doing?" Taiho asked, his voice scratchy with sleep. Nera turned, surprised. "Did I wake you? I'm sorry. I was trying to be quiet." "Quiet?" He gestured at the floating refrigerator. "It's the middle of the night. I had an idea about making our living space more efficient," she explained cheerfully. "The energy flow is all wrong. On Lorax, we arrange our homes to channel positive energy." Taiho rubbed his eyes. "Can this wait until morning?" "Of course," she said, gently setting down the heavy appliance. "I didn't realize the noise would disturb you." He crawled back into bed, and Nera joined him, stroking his hair until he fell asleep again. The next night, he woke at 3 a.m. to find the bed empty. Following soft sounds to their small bathroom, he discovered Nera had disassembled their shower unit. The water pressure was uneven, she explained, seeing his face. "I'm fixing it." "At 3 in the morning? Is that not a good time?" she asked, genuinely confused. Similar incidents happened the next few nights. Taiho would fall asleep with Nera beside him and wake to find her engaged in some project, reorganizing their clothes, upgrading their entertainment system, or once, painting an entire wall with swirling patterns. By the end of their first week as a married couple, Taiho could barely keep his eyes open during his work shifts. Dark circles had formed under his eyes, and his hand shook slightly when he tried to perform delicate repairs. "You look terrible," June told him in the cafeteria. "Married life not agreeing with you." "It's not that," Taiho mumbled, sipping his third cup of coffee. "Nera is wonderful, but she's so active at night." June wiggled his eyebrows suggestively. "Not like that," Taiho said, too tired to be embarrassed. "She's always doing things, fixing things, moving things, every night." "Talk to her about it," June suggested. That evening, Taiho tried to have a gentle conversation about nighttime noise. Nara was apologetic and promised to be quieter. "I'll only do silent activities while you're sleeping," she assured him, kissing his cheek. True to her word, that night there were no loud noises. Instead, Taiho woke at 1 a.m. to find Nera sitting beside the bed, her natural bioluminescence glowing as she stared at him intently. "What are you doing?" he asked, startled. "Watching you sleep," she said with a smile. "It's fascinating. Your eyes move under your lids, and sometimes you make small noises. I've been counting your breaths and heartbeats." Taiho tried to explain that this, too, was disturbing, but Nera seemed genuinely confused by his discomfort. The next night, he woke to find her gone from their quarters entirely. Worried, he checked the station logs and found she had gone to the laboratory to work on some diplomatic reports. He went back to sleep, relieved to get a full night's rest. But the pattern continued. Either Nera was in their quarters doing something that woke him, or she was gone, which left him worried about her whereabouts. Either way, his sleep suffered. After 2 weeks of marriage, Taiho was a walking zombie. He had made 3 mistakes in his work that day, and Captain Hana had expressed concern about his performance. That night, as he crawled into bed, eyes burning with fatigue, he watched Nera sitting at their desk, analyzing stellar charts with the same energy she had shown 2 weeks ago. "Don't you ever sleep?" he asked, trying to make it sound like a joke. Nera looked up, her head tilted in that way he usually found adorable. "Sleep," she repeated, as if the word was unfamiliar. "You mean that unconscious state humans enter?" Taiho sat up straighter, suddenly alert. "Yes, sleep. The thing I do every night. The thing everyone needs to do." "Not everyone," Nora said simply. "Loraxians evolved on a planet with no night cycle. We never developed the need for sleep." Taiho stared at her, his tired mind struggling to process this information. "You don't sleep? Ever?" "No," she said, seemingly surprised by his reaction. "I thought you knew this. Isn't that why you leave me alone for 8 hours each night? I thought you were sleeping too. Is this a problem?" Nora asked, her skin darkening with concern. Taiho fell back against his pillow, the horrible reality sinking in. His wife never slept. She would never sleep. Every night for the rest of their marriage, while he lay unconscious, she would be awake, active, doing things. "No," he lied, closing his eyes against gathering tears of exhaustion. "No problem at all." The morning after Taiho discovered his wife never slept, he sat with her at their small dining table. His hands trembled slightly as he held his coffee cup. Dark circles had formed under his eyes, making him look years older than his 32 years. "We need to talk about sleep," he said firmly. "I require minimum 6 hours of uninterrupted sleep each night. It's not optional for humans." Nera nodded, her blue features scrunched in concentration. "I've been researching this phenomenon since you became upset. It seems so inefficient to just stop functioning for hours at a time. Inefficient or not, without sleep I get sick. My brain doesn't work right. I make mistakes. I could even die if I go too long without sleep. Die? Nora's skin paled to a light blue, showing her alarm. This is that serious? Yes, Tahoe said, relieved she finally understood. Humans need sleep like we need food or water. I didn't know, she whispered. Why didn't you tell me before we married? Tahoe sighed. I assumed you knew. I assumed you slept too. All Earth animals sleep in some way. Not all Oraxian animals do. Our planet has no night. Our sun never sets. She reached across the table to take his hand. I will try to understand this need of yours. That night, Tahoe went to bed hopeful. Nara had promised to leave their quarters while he slept, giving him peace and quiet. But 2 hours later, he woke to find her sitting at the foot of their bed. What are you doing here? He asked, trying not to sound angry. I missed you, she said simply. I tried to stay away, but our quarters felt empty without you. I thought if I just sat here quietly, it wouldn't disturb your sleep process. The next night, Tahoe tried wearing noise-canceling headphones. He slept better but woke with a start when Nara touched his shoulder to show him a beautiful sunrise she had painted for him. I made this while you were sleeping, she said proudly. Do you like it? He did like it, and he loved her enthusiasm. But it was 3 a.m., and he needed to be up for work in 3 hours. After a week of broken sleep, Tahoe went to see the station's doctor. Sleep aids might help, Dr. Min told him after examining him, but they're not a long-term solution. You need to work this out with your wife. Tahoe tried the medication. It helped him fall. No, Tahoe said firmly, though he wasn't sure how to avoid those outcomes. We just need to find our own solution. That night, as Tahoe tried to sleep, he heard Nara in the next room, making small movements as she worked on something. He pulled his pillow over his head, not to block her sounds, but to hide his own tears of frustration. He loved her so much. But increasingly, he wondered if love was enough to overcome biology. Tahoe's eyes burned as he stared at his terminal screen. He had slept only 3 hours last night. Again, despite all their best efforts and agreements, the situation wasn't improving. Nara tried to be quiet, but her constant presence, her movements in the other room, even her soft humming, it all kept him from getting deep, restful sleep. He rubbed his face hard, trying to focus on the system diagnostics running on his screen. As lead engineer for Sector 7, it was his responsibility to ensure the life support systems functioned perfectly. Today was routine maintenance on the oxygen recyclers. His communicator buzzed. Nara had sent a message. Thinking of you. Made you lunch. We'll bring it by your workshop later. He smiled despite his exhaustion. She was trying so hard to be a good partner during his waking hours. It wasn't her fault that their biologies were so different. The station's clock showed 5:45. 15 minutes until the scheduled maintenance. Tahoe gathered his tools and headed to the central hub of Sector 7. Jun was already there, checking the backup systems. You look terrible, he said by way of greeting. Thanks, Tahoe muttered. Still not sleeping well. Maybe you should let someone else handle this today, Jun suggested. Oxygen systems aren't something to mess with when you're tired. I'm fine, Tahoe insisted. Just need more coffee. At precisely 600 hours, the station alert blared, signaling the beginning of maintenance. The automated message echoed through the corridors. Attention all personnel. Sector 7 oxygen recycling system entering maintenance mode. Backup systems engage. Tahoe and Jun began the careful process of shutting down the primary system for inspection and recalibration. Everything went smoothly until it was time to input the recalibration sequence. Tahoe's fingers moved across the keypad, entering the complex string of numbers and symbols that would reset the system to optimal functioning. But halfway through, his tired mind transposed 2 digits. He didn't notice his mistake until he pressed the final confirmation button. Immediately, harsh alarms began to scream. Red warning lights flashed across the control panel. What happened? Jun shouted over the noise. Taeho stared in horror at the readouts. Oxygen levels in Sector 7 were plummeting rapidly. The backup system had failed to engage properly because of his incorrect sequence. Error in the recalibration sequence, he said, fingers flying across the keyboard trying to abort the process. Nothing worked. The system is locked in reset mode. Sector 7 housed 32 crew members. At current depletion rates, they had less than 10 minutes before oxygen reached dangerous levels. The emergency doors began to close automatically, sealing off the affected areas to prevent station-wide contamination. Taeho heard shouting as people ran for safety. Captain Hana's voice came over his communicator. "Kim, report." "Recalibration error," he said, shame burning in his gut. "System locked. Can't override. Evacuating Sector 7 now," Hana replied. "Fix it, engineer." Taeho's hands shook as he tried various override codes. None worked. The fail-safes he had helped design were now working against him. "Let me try something else," Jun said, pushing him aside to access a different terminal. The door to the control room slid open. Nara stood there, her blue skin vivid against the flashing red emergency lights. "What's happening?" she asked, taking in the scene. "Oxygen failure," Jun explained without looking up. Taeho entered the wrong sequence. Systems locked up. Nara moved to Taeho's side. He couldn't meet her eyes. "This is my fault," he whispered. "I was too tired. Made a mistake." Nara studied the control panel for a moment, her large eyes scanning the readouts. Then, without a word, she gently pushed Taeho aside. "Stand aside," she said calmly, her diplomatic training evident in her steady voice. "I can fix this." "You're not an engineer," Jun protested. "No, but Loraxians process information differently than humans." Her 6 fingers moved with incredible speed across the keyboard. "We can perceive patterns humans cannot." Taeho watched as Nara bypassed the standard interface and accessed the system's underlying code directly. Her fingers blurred as she typed commands faster than any human could. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Creating a new pathway," she explained without slowing. "Your system is locked because it's following protocols. I'm making a new protocol it will recognize as higher priority." The alarm suddenly stopped. The flashing lights ceased. On the main display, oxygen levels stabilized, then began to rise slowly. "How did you do that?" Jun asked, amazed. Loraxian diplomatic training includes emergency response protocols for all known species and systems, Nara said simply. "Your oxygen system is based on Centaurian design. I recognize the architecture." Captain Hana's voice came through again. "Status report." "Crisis averted," Jun replied. "Oxygen levels stabilizing." "Nara Kim saved us." There was a pause. "Good work, Diplomat Kim. Full report in 1 hour." As the emergency teams arrived to complete the repairs, Taeho was escorted to the medical bay for standard evaluation after an incident. Nara came with him, silent as they walked through the corridors. The doctor examined him briefly, noting his elevated heart rate and blood pressure. "Rest here for a while," she advised, leaving them alone in the small examination room. Finally, alone with his wife, Taeho couldn't hold back the tears that had been threatening since the crisis began. "I could have killed people," he whispered, "because I was too tired to do my job properly." Nara sat beside him on the examination bed, taking his hand in hers. "But you didn't. No one was hurt." "This time," he said. "But I can't do this anymore. I love you, but I can't function like this. The lack of sleep is making me dangerous." Nara's blue skin paled to an almost white shade, showing her distress. "I've been researching human sleep cycles for weeks," she admitted. "I thought you would be researching Loraxian biology too. But you never asked." Taeho looked up, surprised. "What do you mean?" "You never asked about how Loraxians rest, how we recharge. You just assumed I had no needs because I don't sleep like humans do." Guilt washed over him. She was right. In all their discussions about his need for sleep, he had never once asked about her needs. "I'm sorry," he said. "You're right. What do you need? How do Loraxians rest?" "We enter a meditative state for 2 hours every 30 hours, she explained. "During this time, we need complete sensory immersion, light, sound, and motion. It's why I was always doing things at night. I was trying to create enough stimulation to reach my rest state." Taeho stared at her, a new understanding dawning. "So all this time, you've been trying to rest too?" Nara nodded. "I've been exhausted as well, but I didn't want to burden you with my needs when you were already struggling." They sat in silence for a long moment, the realization of their mutual misunderstanding hanging between them. "We've been terrible at this, haven't we?" Taeho finally said. "Yes," Nara agreed with a small smile. "But perhaps now we can do better." 6 months after the oxygen system crisis, Taeho stood proudly at the entrance to their redesigned quarters. Captain Hana had just cut the ceremonial ribbon, officially approving the unique living space that he and Nara had designed together. "I've never seen anything like this on the station," Hana admitted, looking around with obvious curiosity. "That's because no one else needed exactly what we need," Nara explained, her blue skin glowing with happiness. After their breakthrough in the medical bay, Taeho and Nara had spent weeks researching both human sleep requirements and Loraxian rest needs. They drafted plans for a completely new kind of living space and presented them to station leadership. "We're not the first human Loraxian couple," Taeho had argued during their presentation, "but we could be the first to create a model for successful cohabitation." The station engineers and Taeho worked together to transform their standard quarters into something remarkable. On one side was a sleep chamber for Taeho with complete sound isolation, light control, and its own air system. The walls were triple thick to block any noise or vibration. On the opposite side was a workshop area specifically designed for Nara. It had bright lights that mimicked the constant daylight of her home planet, a sound system that produced the specific frequencies Loraxians needed for their meditative rest, and space for her to move freely while creating her art. Between these two specialized areas was a common living space they shared during Taeho's waking hours. "Come see my favorite part," Nara said now, leading their guests to a wall between the sleep chamber and her workshop. With a touch, the wall became transparent, showing Taeho's sleeping area. "It's one way," Taeho explained. "When I'm sleeping, Nara can see me, but no light passes through to my side. It helps her feel connected to me even when I'm asleep. And this window can become a display screen," Nara added. "I can leave messages for Taeho that will appear when he wakes up." Jun whistled, impressed. This must have cost a fortune in resources. The station council approved it as a pilot program, Captain Hana said. "If it works, we may implement similar designs for other interspecies couples." After the visitors left, Taeho and Nara sat together on their couch, enjoying a rare moment of quiet togetherness. "Are you happy?" Nara asked, her hand resting on his. "Happier than I've been in months," Taeho answered truthfully. "I've slept 8 full hours for 5 nights straight, and I've had my full rest cycles without disturbing you," Nara said. Taeho squeezed her hand. "It's about adaptation," he said. "We were both expecting the other to change without changing ourselves. Change is easier when it's shared," Nara agreed. The new arrangement worked better than either had hoped. Taeho's work performance improved dramatically with proper sleep. His fellow engineers stopped looking concerned when he handled important systems. Meanwhile, Nara discovered a talent for creating art during her nighttime hours alone. She began making small sculptures using a crystalline material from her homeworld, working with quiet focus while Taeho slept peacefully in his chamber. "This reminds me of the flowers in the hydroponics garden, where we first spoke," Taeho said one morning, examining her latest creation. "That was my inspiration," Nara said, pleased he had recognized it. "I'm creating a series based on our story together." They developed a rhythm that honored both their biological needs. Taiho would spend his evenings with Nara until he needed sleep. After a good night's rest, he would wake to find a new sculpture or painting waiting for him, along with a message from Nara on his display screen. During his work hours, Nara would sometimes enter her rest state in her workshop, surrounded by the light and sound she needed. Taiho made sure to leave her undisturbed during these times, just as she respected his sleep. "We've created a new kind of marriage," Nara observed one evening as they prepared dinner together. "Not human, not Loraxian, but something uniquely ours." On their one-year wedding anniversary, Taiho remembered the galactic credit post that had so discouraged him months ago. He created a new post. Update: 1 year married to my sleepless alien wife. We've found our balance. Different biology doesn't mean incompatible hearts. He detailed their journey, the challenges they had faced, and the solutions they had created. He included images of their redesigned quarters and explained how respecting each other's biological needs had strengthened their relationship instead of weakening it. "The key was curiosity," he wrote, "not just asking what I needed or what she needed, but truly wanting to understand each other's experience." To his surprise, the post went viral across the galaxy. Within days, messages flooded in from other interspecies couples facing similar challenges. A human Venusian couple with different atmospheric needs requested copies of their housing plans. A Centaurian Martian pair struggling with temperature incompatibility asked for advice. Even other human Loraxian couples, who had given up hope, reached out to thank them for showing a way forward. Soon, Captain Hannah approached them with a request. "The Interstellar Relationship Council wants you to speak at their annual conference. Your post has become something of a handbook for interspecies couples everywhere." "Us?" Taiho asked, surprised. "We're just figuring things out as we go." "Sometimes that's exactly what people need to see," Hannah said. "Not perfect solutions, but the willingness to keep trying." That night, as Taiho prepared for sleep, Nara walked with him to his chamber door. "I never thought I would find someone willing to build a life that works for both of us," she said softly. "Most humans I met expected me to adapt to their ways. And I never imagined I'd marry someone who never sleeps," Taiho replied with a smile. "But now, I can't imagine life any other way." They shared a kiss before Taiho entered his sleep chamber and Nara returned to her workshop. Different as they were, they had found harmony in their differences. And across the galaxy, other couples began to hope they could do the same.